Call the meeting of the Florence City Council to order. First item on the agenda is recognition of Cooper High School varsity cheerleaders. I would like to call to the podium their coach, Katie James, to tell us a little bit about this historic season. We're so pleased to have all the girls here. You didn't have any gentlemen on your team, right?
No.
Okay,
No.
just all ladies.
All ladies. A little bit about their season this year. They won first place at NKCCA, which is a local competition in the fall, where they also took grand champions. They won their regional competition for the state, which then led them to the state competition, where they won their first state championship. Our local competitions, they've had the highest score at every competition so far this year. So that's been a big accomplishment. And we're gearing up now to head to Disney in February. So it's been a successful year.
Amazing. If I call your name, we'd like you to have you come up front here. So Katie, can you open the door there? Yeah. And we'll start with McKenna Mangus. Hope I said that right. Chrysalyn Thompson. Alyssa Topfert. Sarah Clay. Claire Eschen. Hope that's close. Sierra McCarty. Maddie Gray. Is it Cameron? Cayman. Okay, I knew I was going to mess that one up. Cayman Hagan. Izzy Baker. Ariana LaChavio. Kennedy Taylor. Addie Timon. How do you say that? Timon. See, I knew I messed that one up. Addie Wardrop. Addie Black. Amelia Fox. Emma Rice. Paige Feldhouse. Gabby Gamfer. Carter Beddick. And Lexi Vagides. Head coach is Katie James. Assistant coach Taylor Bologna. Bologna. Miranda Rich. And our principal at Cooper is Mike Wilson. Our athletic director is Randy Borcher. So did I miss any of the girls that weren't on the list that are here? Okay, perfect. All right, I am going to come down and do a proclamation. Katie wears two hats, so she works here for the city, but she also coaches you guys. So, whereas the city of Florence recognizes with respect, pride, and admiration the contribution, dedication, hard work of our students within our community, and whereas the Cooper High School varsity cheerleaders emerged victorious in the KHSAA State Cheerleading Championship, securing the title in the medium varsity state division on December 9th, 2023. This historic achievement marks the first time in the school's history that the cheerleaders have clinched the state championship. And whereas the city of Florence extends our heartfelt congratulations to the exceptional members of the cheerleading team, whose dedication, skill, and teamwork have propelled them to this remarkable triumph. Special recognition is also extended to the devoted coaches and parents who have tirelessly guided and inspired these athletes to reach new heights. And whereas the city of Florence is proud to congratulate the members of the Cooper High School varsity cheerleaders, symbolizing the pinnacle of achievement and the source of immense pride for our community, may this historic win inspire future generations and serve as a reminder of what can be accomplished through perseverance, teamwork, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Therefore, I, Julie Abishon, Mayor of the City of Florence, and on behalf of the members of Florence City Council, hereby proclaim January 16th, 2024, in the city of Florence, Kentucky, as Cooper High School Varsity Cheerleader Day. Congratulations.
You
right, now we need to vote.
Are you? Wow. Yep. If you're tall, stand in the back. Everybody else, there we go. Oh, yeah. All right, you're gonna have to kind of handle this one. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
No, I've been with Cooper through the kids. Yeah, this is your son. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kidding. Cover yourself.
Civics lesson.
Friends on Thursday.
It's going on my cheer.
Thank you.
Always nice to see state championships of any sport in our community, so congratulations to them. Next is discussion of our investment policy. This policy has not been updated since the 90s. It was something that KLC, Kentucky League of Cities, released some model investment policy language, and we took a look at that and tailored it towards the city. And Mr. Nienaber, do you have anything that you would like to add?
You know, in late 2022, the Kentucky legislature revised its investment policy and allowable investments for cities, governmental entities in KRS 66.460. And what this investment policy does through KLC's model plan is it updates ours to conform to that. The only other major change is that it appoints designated officials, which is the mayor and Linda Chapman, to make and direct investments, seek the advice and of counselors, investment counselors, and any other professionals that they may deem appropriate. But for the most part, the investment policy that you have in your package parrots the model policy adopted by KLC.
And just to kind of emphasize those comments, we are restricted as to what types of investments that we can undertake as a city.
Very much so.
Is there any questions from council? All right, next is discussion regarding a resolution R-23037A of the Boone County Planning Commission recommending approval with conditions for the request of Crossland Southeast for an approximate 11.82 acre site located on the northeast corner of US 42 Farmview Drive intersection and the southeast corner of Old US 42 Farmview Drive intersection. It's in portions in Florence and Union, and providing the recommendation for this approval to our Planning and Zoning Committee, which did meet, and I believe we are going to have a presentation from Mr. Hunt.
Yes, ma'am. So I think everybody is familiar with this site. It's where there's about 300 political signs every election season on this specific corridor. It is 11.82 acres. What's a little bit unique, and we don't run into this a lot, is it's actually split between the city of Union and the city of Florence. So let's see here, 10.5 acres is within our municipal boundary, and 1.3 acres is within the municipal boundary of the city of Union. So both planning and zoning bodies will be going through this process simultaneously. The lot is broken down, or the development is broken down into 3 main lots. And some of you on council, this is the 4th concept development plan that has came through for this specific lot. One was done way back in the day in the 90s for the Erpenbach development. It was a part of all that back in there. Then there was one done in 2014, I think it was LA Fitness went through. Then there was one that was done in 2021, which I have that rendering, I'll show it to you in a little bit. And then we're now on this one. So out of all those development plans, this is certainly the least amount of broken down lots that we've reviewed as a planning body. But lot 1 here is 5,150 square feet office space and has a pickup window, enough room for 6 stacking spaces and 37 parking stalls. Lot 2 is 7,000 square foot office space, commercial building with 10 stacking spaces and 31 parking spaces. And then lot 3, which is the larger lot and the larger building, is a proposed 56,264 square foot grocery store with an attached 3,200 square foot liquor store and drive-through pharmacy. The grocery store it has been submitted, it's not been named, so that when you're going through the zoning process, you don't typically name the end tenants, you just go through and look at if it's permissible use category as you're analyzing the zoning. So I'm going to do this a little bit backwards and start with lot 3. So as you can see on the slide, there is 289 parking stalls, and there are a few spots that are reserved for EV charging stations. Pretty much any large concept development plan that we're getting anymore, they're reserving spots for EV. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to install them upon the completion of this, but they're reserving spots so they don't have to go through the long-range process to get them in the future. And actually, if it wasn't on there, we're making it a condition that they do at least reserve spots for it, because we know that in the future it's going to be part of every development. So relatively larger parking area for 289 cars. The building itself came a long way. So originally it submitted, it was a pretty ethos-heavy building. But as you can see, this is the final end product, very heavy brick. EFS was really reserved for trim and incidental areas. I would say it exceeds the architectural standards for the area, and it marries well with some of the newer commercial developments across the street, being Starbucks, Jimmy John's, that have a similar type look. Parapet does extend up to, take care of any kind of mechanical features, and in a store of this size, there'll be quite a few mechanical features on the roof, so that's all screened appropriately. And we were actually pretty pleased with where this building ended up at and getting approved at from a concept level for how it looks aesthetically. Here is the approved concept development plan, a little bit different than what I showed earlier. That was the draft submittal, so this is the actual approved one, and we're going to get into some of the details on that. So, and I guess that leads us to segue to this. So, if you read in your packets, there was quite a few comments from the public, and we're going to do our best to address those. I think the developer has spent a lot of time making sure, all the voices that were heard of different issues that people had with the development has been taken into account for. So the first one in your packets, you'll notice that there was a trend with screening concerns. This site, or where the pad sits right now, the grade sits, it's currently 39 feet higher than where the pad sits for the condos, South Fork Villas, back behind there. So any concept development plan that we've looked at, or at least the last 2, all the buildings have been pushed back towards the end, towards old US 42. And that's just the way the layout is, and for the parking, that's how it's going to be. When you have that kind of difference in grade, you're always going to have visibility you know, you're always going to be able to see the building because it sticks so far up in the air. This is part of it. But nonetheless, there is some concerns that specifically those residents had with headlights shining up through there and hitting the condos, and then some of the existing vegetation that if you look in those pictures on the corner of the right, that is pictures of actual vegetation on site. They didn't want that eliminated, and I can assure you the developer doesn't want that eliminated because that counts towards their buffer yard requirements and the tree counts that they're required to have per the zoning code. So, long story short, we went through this process, back and forth. Where we're at with the screening is that there's existing vegetative buffer that will be maintained as much as possible. There's 21 evergreen trees that have been identified in that existing vegetative strip. Those will be kept. Evergreens are important because they stay green year-round and they block much more effectively than a tree that loses its leaves. There's additional 21 evergreen trees that will be planted on the back side of this building. Probably more importantly, there is over 300 linear feet of an 8-foot black vinyl privacy fence that will extend around the back side of the curb to block any kind of headlights as they were going around the rear of the building from shining towards the condos. So I think with that, you know, it's achieved and alleviated a lot of the concerns that was there from a buffer yard requirement or from visibility from South Fork Estates or South Fork Villas. The next and probably the biggest concerns that were addressed from the public comment period, and really concerns that the city's had. You know, we work with hundreds of site development teams every year. Work with many site selectors that have looked at this site, and there's been one common theme to everything that's been proposed here, and that is, it sounds great, but we got to work through traffic. We've known that it's unfortunate when it comes to development that the last person in, they tend to have to deal with development issues that nobody else really had to deal with, and that's kind of part of the site. Because there were so many comments as it related to public, I kind of want to do a deep dive each of the major intersections. That way everybody up here understands the level of thought that went into it, and then also some projects that Eric and his team, because Eric's been a part of this for a while, looking at how we can improve ingress egress to the site. So starting with the first, probably the main entryway point, this is St. Elizabeth Way. This is a private street currently. The plans will call for this street to be updated to city standards. So curb and gutter, they'll do pavement thickness analysis if it needs to be wide, and they'll look at all that. But specifically at this intersection at 42, it will be a right in, right out, left in. So the left end probably throws you for a little bit of a loop there. I know it did me. So if you're going eastbound on US 42, you will be able to turn in left on this site. You see a little bitty divider there in that plan view of the sheet in the middle of 42. That allows for left-hand turning movements onto St. Elizabeth Way and also allows for left-hand turning movements to Express Street. But that will be a restricted access. Keep in mind this is a KYTC connection, so they dictate any kind of restrictions or modifications that are required for any of their connections. On the back half of this is where you're looking at the private street, St. Elizabeth Way right now, but where it connects to old US 42. This will remain a full turn movement access point on the development site. The blue circle indicates a new road. There's no picture there because there's no road there, but that will be full access turning movements. Did go out and evaluate the site. It has really good sight distances, and it will, when they clear away some of the shrubs that are within the right-of-way, you'll have good sight distant profiles, which is important when you have full access intersection where it's not, there's no stop signs or anything like that out. So this is probably one of the bigger modifications that we're looking at from a city perspective in conjunction with this project. Our concern always has been that any traffic that was leaving this development would impact the signalized intersection on Farmview Drive. That section of Farmview Drive that you're looking at is actually not the city of Florence's. That is the city of Union's to maintain. And that traffic signal at Farmview and 42 is state to maintain, but it's city of Union jurisdiction. So, Public Services is looking at, as part of their capital forecasting, Eric and his team did a deep dive into this, looking at future growth, not really just for this development, but looking at the potential for Dr. Baird's 50 acres, and then there's another 10 acres that abuts that to develop, with Old US 42 being the main entryway point to that development, if it ever does develop. And what can we do to get ahead of that? I think we're in a situation, and good planners, if you can get ahead of that with some road improvements, what do you do? So Eric and his team did a deep dive on that, and we'll kind of go through some of that. And with that analysis, right now, there would be a restriction at this intersection to keep people from turning left on the Farm View from Old US 42. That is about the best solution we can come up with to guarantee that no traffic from this development will impact that site. But the residents of Farmview, which would mostly use this intersection, would have full access to and from. So if you're going down Farmview Drive, you will be able to turn left onto Old US 42. And if you're on Old US 42, you'll be able to turn right. So really, it's restricting any kind of left-hand movements from Old US 42 on the Farmview. And that'll make a lot more sense with improvements that are being proposed at the other end of this development here in a second. So just real quick, the green circle, this is the City of Union's call, not really our call, but this is their section of street within their jurisdiction. It is being proposed as a right in, right out only. I agree that it should be right in, right out. So the biggest portion of analyzing this, and Eric and his team came back, we've known for a long time that Old US 42 and how this is, if you're sitting on Old US 42 looking at Weatherington, it doesn't align correctly. In order to support future growth, there will be a project where basically you have double left-hand turn lanes coming out of here. There will be a DXL lane if you're going westbound on 42 with a larger turning radius, so you can make this turn move onto Old US 42. And then, of course, with the smart signal upgrade that Eric and his team are analyzing, that'll be utilized and getting rid of traditional traffic loops, using newer technology to signalize the different intersections up and down this corridor. It's going to greatly improve how traffic moves through this corridor. Ultimately, what we're doing here is we're wanting to force any kind of traffic that would come from the grocery chain, those two outlots that needed to make a left-hand turn movement, we want to force them to this intersection, which will be much improved and be able to handle all the traffic that this development can throw at it. I guess just wrapping up traffic real fast, ingress to the site has never been the issue. There's plenty of access points to get people to the site. And there's a full traffic study that was submitted with this. Getting people out was always the concern. Even their traffic report didn't really recommend any kind of major improvements in order to move traffic in and out, but we saw the need, and Eric's team saw the need to go back through and analyze this, and we'll be proposing a capital improvement project for really Old US 42, that corridor in there, which alleviates any kind of traffic concern on the site. Lastly, I guess we're getting to the point of wrapping it up here. There are just a few monument signs. I know you guys like to see those when we go through a concept development plan. They start off with 4, and if you read the packet in the front of it, it talks about 4 big monument signs. They've cut it back to 3, with one of those being shared with the outlot development. And those are all within our side guidelines and don't block any kind of, site distances as they're pulling out of Farmview. Here's kind of a little look on the outlot developments. If you remember 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago when we dealt with this, there was like 17 conditions associated with that approval. And a lot of those were with different restriction categories for the uses. So for example, car washes were not permitted, automotive type uses were not permitted. All those conditions, plus a few more, carrying over on this plan. So we're protected there, and we felt it was important to carry all those conditions over to really try to focus in on maybe lower turnover type use categories. And all in all, P&Z, myself, didn't see any issues with what they're proposing there. We have a good feeling we're going to get really high-end users here. This was the original concept development plan that you approved 3 years ago. Not that it has any merit on today. And that's really it. So I want to open up for questions. I wanted to do a deep dive to make sure that, any of the public hearing comments that we received, assure you that we've addressed them. Florence P&Z Committee has recommended approval for this. We're not taking action on it tonight, but now's a good time to, if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Or if David's got a call, if he wants to take that, come back.
So just to kind of recap, so this was a proposal, it went to the Boone County Planning Commission. There was a public hearing. They did have a vote on it. They made a recommendation of approval to City of Florence. The City of Florence's Planning and Zoning Commission did review the recommendation, determined that there was no need for an additional public hearing, and that they recommended approval. And that's where we are tonight. We're going to have discussion. Next steps would be to have a vote on it at the next business meeting, and it would take 2 readings in order for this to pass. Josh, did I leave anything out of that process?
I think that's, there was no need for any additional conditions or modifications to the few conditions that came over from the Planning Commission. And since we had some people fly in for this meeting, I guess, they're here as well. They're the experts, so if you have any questions for them, I'll be more than happy to answer it.
We cannot accept new testimony, though, at this meeting.
Correct.
So. David?
You won't go off.
Help him out, Chief.
So everybody good?
Hit it twice, put it on the ground, step on it.
So no questions?
Any questions?
One question.
Okay.
Over a period of time.
Use your
how long
microphone,
do you think
David.
it would take to complete this project?
Well, in the traffic study, they indicate 2027 build out, but that's more for probably to be fully online. But I know that the grocery side of things, I think you could see something come online within the next 2 years. The outlots don't have a timeline on that yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And just for reference, a typical grocery store, marketplace type store would be in the 250,000 square foot range. And this is a 55,000 square foot grocer.
Yep, much smaller footprint and one that we've actually been recruiting for a long time. So we're happy to see them submit and go through the process.
Any other discussion? Ms. Chambers?
Can you tell me, like, can you tell me another, like, place in the city where it would be the same size as the grocery part?
Ooh, 55,000 square foot.
How big is Aldi? Smaller than that.
What was the question?
Aldi is smaller than that.
Yeah, Aldi is smaller than that.
GFS is probably smaller. Remke?
You always find a way to ask me a question.
Remke?
And I'm sitting here, I'm just picking
Probably
on you.
Remke.
55,000 square feet, let me think.
Remke.
This is my strength, I should know this. Remke's probably 70, I would say. Old Kroger was over 100,
Yeah.
125, 150.
Just give you an idea.
I'll send you a full list. I'm talking a list of every building within 3 feet by tomorrow. Christmas tree stores and cap, it's about 60,000 square feet, so.
All
But
right.
a standalone box, nothing's coming to me off the top of my head.
Anything else? All right, we have no other business. Oh, wait, I have a mayor's report. The Florence Business Council meeting is this Thursday at 11:30 to 1 at the Hilton. It's a joint effort with the Chamber to promote Florence businesses, so we welcome everyone to attend. And this meeting, we will be honoring Colette's Carryout liquor store for their business. They were started in, I believe, 1960. So hats off to them for their longevity. And also, we will feature an amenity at every meeting, whether it's a park or a facility. And this month, our Florence amenity is our senior center. So we have people on hand from the senior center to give a little information about what they do there. We have a fabulous senior center run by our YMCA. So make sure to check out the science projects in the lobby provided by St. Tim's Catholic School. They'll be there through the end of the week. And our Assistant Chief Black participated in the judging of those, and we thank him for doing that. We are doing Valentine's for the troops once again. We'll collect letters for our deployed troops and handwritten notes. No glitter. Please, no glitter, whatever you do, and no envelopes. So just drop those off here at the Government Center Administration Department before January 24th. And we also are doing our Florence Parks Master Plan Survey. So Eric, do you have anything you want to add about that? We talked about it a little bit last week.
We did. The only thing that I would add is we did decide to extend it a couple more weeks. So instead of ending at the end of the month, we will go to February 7th or 9th, I think it is. And we're also getting great feedback. I just got some information today. I think we've already had roughly 500 maybe fill the survey out for as long as it's been out, so that's good. So everybody, keep getting out, take the survey, and help us guide the direction of this master plan.
And we will have a public, public meeting for public feedback on Wednesday, January 31st from 6 to 8 at the Florence Nature Park Event Center. And we can only hope the weather will be warmer, so.
When they have the committee meetings, is the public allowed to attend those?
Talking about the one at the end of the month?
No, like the Parks and Recs committee that you appointed?
So they're not an official committee, they're just a stakeholders group, and they won't conduct any business. So, if someone's interested, they can reach out and we can make arrangements, but it wouldn't fall under open records that I know of. I don't know, our clerk is not here tonight, but we can investigate that. Any other questions? All right. Anyone on council desire recognition? Anyone in the audience? Mr. Brown? Always nice to have a former council member in the house.
I have two things. One is the transportation issue, and that is that, I don't know if, and I hope that we're aware of it, but apparently past year, there was a law passed down in Frankfurt that allows counties and cities over 25,000 in the state of Kentucky to create transportation improvement districts. And I know, I just happened to see this on the fiscal court, so I went to the fiscal court meeting, heard some of their information, still not clear exactly why or how it's better than what we're doing. They're kind of pushing towards it. Again, from a transportation standpoint, it looks like they think you can get in front of the line of other people when it comes to state money. You still have OKI and all that stuff that you have to
Right.
deal with. So I hope that you know that. The other,
I do know we've had meetings on this already between Eric and Josh.
yeah, he had said
So,
that
yeah.
you all had probably at least talked about it, so I wasn't sure. But listening to that and talking about that improvement of those intersections takes a lot of money when you're messing with state roads and whatnot. The other thing, if I could just, I ran across some old clippings of some new faces elected to Florence City Council from 1975. So there's only one person out there that fits that description, Dave. And I want to, if I can find them, I want to read real quick here. And again, some of the, and I'm going to give these to you. I want you to have these because some of the names jumped right out at me as Earl White,
yeah.
Pringle, Roger Rothfuss was in this group. Insurance agent, I'm going to quote here, insurance agent David Osborne, 35. Same address, I'm not going to read your address, is on his first adventure into politics, many years ago, David. Though undecided on this business taxing and a professional city management, because that was the issue going on as far as the city manager. For Florence, he says, he's nobody's man. So, very good. So I want you to have these. I ran across these going through some old papers, and I immediately thought that I've got to make sure you get your hands on these. So, 1975. Congratulations.
Thank you, Larry. Great to see you. And Larry's father was on council, correct? And so Larry has a long-standing history with the city, and we appreciate your service, prior service on council, so thank you for coming. All right, anyone else? Be a hard act to follow. All right, I take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Nguyen?
Second.
Ms. Kemfer, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a great night. Stay warm. All right.